Hi, I'm Anna Brewster. Welcome to Art Club for July. We're in July already, I can't believe it. So what we're going to be doing this month is making some flower beds. And goodness, I like plants quite a lot, as you might have gathered from some of the other Art Club things. We're going to be making these today. So you will need a little bit of watercolour or some coloured pencils, anything you've got like that. A pen that is waterproof is better, so a biro or a fine liner would do brilliantly, and some sketchbook paper or some watercolour paper, whatever you've got lying about, and let's get cracking. I want a pair of scissors. I lied. A pair of scissors as well. Let's get started. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create 4 little patches of colour. And what I want to do for this is create 4 different sets of tone, by which I mean we're going to be using the same colours, but very, very faint, slightly less faint, quite strong, very strong. So what I'm going to suggest doing is picking 3 colours, maybe a dark green, a yellow, something like that. And I'm going for a shocking pink because I like shocking pink in the summer. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it really, really wet. We could do the strong one first. We're going to do the strong one first. Yeah, why not? It'll be easier that way around. So, okay, so we're going to go for the strong one first. So get a great big dobble of pigment. If you are not using paint, what could you do for this? You could find pencil crayons of various graduations of colour. There are lots of other ways you could do this. You could use crayons and press very lightly, but we're going to be using, so I'm going to put heavy stuff on first. So what we're going to do, we're just going to get some colour. This is just my sketchbook, a page I've nicked out of my sketchbook. We're going to have a bit of that colour. I'm going to grab some green. I'm going to let it blend. This is wet. It won't stay wet for long because it's roasting in here. But you can see how it's moving about a little bit. And then just to jazz it up a little bit around the edges, I'm going to put in a few little pops of yellow. Just to make it a little bit more interesting. Like that. So this is very quick, and you can see it is drying already, but the colours are merging into each other just a little bit. I am not using the Optimum brush for this because this is, I think, probably an acrylic brush I've acquired from somewhere, and it is scuffing the paper a little bit, but it doesn't matter because this paper is fairly good quality, so it will probably survive. I'm going to water that paint down a little bit now, so it's not quite as strong. And my second patch, as you can see, is not nearly as pink. And remember that watercolour always dries lighter than you think it's going to, so don't go too pale too quickly. Get a bit more paint on there. This is going to be my second one, and I'm going to get a little bit of green, but not too, a little bit lighter this time. Similar sort of idea, we're just chucking a bit on randomly, letting it move about. We are going to be drawing over the top of this, so put in a few flecks of yellow because pink and yellow are quite fun together. You can see I've made them about the same size, and this is what we want to be doing. They can be rough as anything around the edges, it really doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter which brush you use either. Water it down again. So my pink, I don't know if you can see my pink on there. You can. Okay, so the pink in the middle is now, it's really quite pale. You can see as I put it on the paper, quite pale. The green equally is really getting quite washed out now. It will travel around. There it goes. Get a little bit of that yellow. Just pop a few bits in like that. You're trying to get the whole lot down before it starts drying. And the very last layer is almost hardly there. Am I going to be able to fit that in? Might have to put it sideways. We'll put it sideways. There we go. And then as I cut it out, it will make more sense. This layer is hardly there. I don't know if you can see how light that is. That's really, really light. really, really light. The idea is that this will be the back, so it's kind of, you can hardly see it. Like it's in the distance through a hazy garden. So we've got really dark, medium, getting lighter, really light. And what we're going to do now is we're going to let these dry completely, then we're going to add some ink work to them over the top. Okay, so these are near enough dry, or at least they will be by the time I get to them. I'm going to have to move the palette out of the way a bit, so I'll just shift that over. The reason being is that being left-handed, I need this bit to be able to draw. So we have got 4 different bits here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw random plant shapes on them. Now, if you are lacking in inspiration, let me give you a few ideas. There are loads of different shapes. So heart-shaped leaves make really nice fillers. You just draw the stick, heart-shaped leaf, lovely. You can carry on going like that indefinitely. Tall plants, like almost with like a bamboo type leaf, they can be quite nice. You don't have to worry too much about stalks. What I find is if I try and draw both sides of a stalk, it always goes horribly wrong. So I would recommend not even bothering with that. You've got the sunflower type things where you just go around like this, and you can put a center in them. It really is up to you what you draw on these. In terms of scale, again, it's not really that much of a problem. You just go for whatever size you feel comfortable. So I'm going to see if that's about in the middle of the screen there, isn't it? So for this one, this is going to be the back of the picture. So for this one, I'm going to have some of those. Now, you might notice that I'm going over, I don't know if you can see it on this first one because they're very, very faint, but I'm not worrying a huge amount about, and I swear to God, that's my catchphrase. I'm not going to worry about it, but please, you don't need to worry. These back ones, don't think about whether it's a pink bit or a green bit. Doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to really see it that well anyway. Don't worry about going over lines. You're just doodling, basically. We love a bit of a doodle here at Art Club. That's another nice little flower design, little twirly flower. There we go. And what we're doing is we're filling in a border. So you don't need to think too hard about stems because you may not be able to see stems. You're aiming to get to kind of where that's the top of the paint, and you're aiming to kind of collide with it. You don't have to stick to it perfectly. You can have bits that go in and out of it. That just adds to the look of the thing. So be quite kind of relaxed about where the edges are of things. I'm going to put in some of those flowers that I was just saying about with the 2 layers of petals. And in terms of where you go down to at the bottom, kind of where the paint stops is absolutely fine. You're aiming to fill the space. So I'm going to put in some big old leaves down here. It won't matter if there are blank bits, and anyway, you can always fill them in later if you think, oh Lord, there's a massive bit here that I should have done something with. It's absolutely fine. This will take as long or as not long, depending on how fast you are at this sort of stuff, as it takes. You can use it as a lovely meditative, relaxing kind of thing to do. I am quite quick at it, but that's because I've just made one to show how it's going to work. So I've had a bit of a run up at this. If you are really lacking in inspiration of shapes, and some days we all have those days, try looking in something like, I don't know, a gardening website, gardening magazine, if you've got any lying about, a florist's website, just for shapes really more than anything else. So that's kind of all you need. So each one of these is going to have something similar on it. I am going to do these next 2, and then I'll talk a little bit more about as you get closer to the front. And you'll see as you get closer to the front, the greens and the yellows are more defined, which is where you can get a little bit more focused on what you put in those bits. So I'm going to rattle through these 2, and I'm going to talk to you about that last one. Right, as we come to this last one, when I did this one, you might notice that I was using the little yellow dots to make the centres of flowers. Just where I could see obvious places to put flowers and leaves. I'm going to really start maxing that out as I get to this last one. I'm just going to turn the paper upside down because it will be easier for me to draw it. So I'm not rubbing my hand all over that lot. So I'm just going to flip it this way up. It makes absolutely no odds. And I'm going to start using these green and pink spaces to do some quite big flowers that are a little bit more defined. And then we might even put a tiny bit of gold or something on it. I've got some, this is all watercolour, but I've got some gouache here. The pen is a Unipin fine liner 0.8, but to be quite honest, you could use a biro, you could use absolutely anything for this part of the drawing, providing you're not putting anything else over the top. It doesn't even matter if it's waterproof, providing your base layer is all dry. So for here, we're going to go for some nice big leaves. Thinking tropical garden. You don't have to stick to these religiously. In fact, I would recommend not sticking to them too religiously, or you may find that it really hampers your drawing. Don't be afraid about drawing over things either. This is meant to be, as most things I do are, quite loose, quite sketchy. Okay, so we've got this big area at the front. What shall I fill that with? I'll put in some of these little guys. This at the bottom is going to be visible, so you want to go right down, almost off the paper there, and that will be absolutely fine. You can just leave, you know, break the edge up so the edge of the paint is not the edge of the ink. I have another one of those nice big leaves over here. I've got one little wet spot there, so I'm having to be a little bit careful. It's not something you'll often hear from me. I am not often careful, it has to be said, when it comes to painting. But I am going to be here because when ink hits wet paint, it goes funny. These look like little bits of, they're going to be little bits of grassy stuff. There we go. And then we're going to have more of these big daisy things. I like this pink in summer. It reminds me of bougainvillea, of being on holiday. It's not a colour that ever makes it out of the palette the rest of the year, but this time of year there are loads of things around that are this colour. And we'll have some more up here. I'm going to stick to a theme here, just have lots of the same sort of shapes, because that can be quite a nice way of doing it. So we'll just put a few more leaves around the bottom here, and I'm pretty much there. So now I have now got the pale one. I've got the pale one, I've got the middle of the road one, I've got the slightly darker one, and I've got the really dark one. And I'm going to start chopping these up. So I'm going to go and get some scissors, and then we're going to start chopping some bits up and making our card together. Right, so what I've got here is a sheet of paper, which is going to be, a piece of card would be nicer, but it doesn't really matter too much. For the purposes of this will do absolutely fine. I'm just going to tidy that up because, as you can see, it was a page out of my sketchbook. Now, we are going to make a card. I might make a 4-fold card with this, actually. Let's have a look at how wide it is. Yes, why not? So if you've got a nice sort of A5 sheet thing, you could do it just 1 fold and put this on the front. Because I'm using slightly thin paper, am I going to do that? Or am I just going to shrink it? No, let's go for it. Let's go for it. So I'm going to make a 2-fold card just to give it a bit more rigidity. That's the word I want, word for the day. So This is quite useful if you've only got thinner paper. So there we go. So this is going to be the card. It's going to stand like that. You can see it folds out, folds in. It's going to stand like that. So we are going to be putting things on the front of this, and they are going to overlap. They're going to go right up to the edge pretty much. So what I'm going to do now is put that aside and do a little bit of cutting. And I'm going to be cutting these out in a particular way. The bottoms of these don't matter because you're not going to be able to see them anyway. But the tops do. So I'm going to do one, and then I will zip through the others. The only one where the bottom matters is this one. This one you are cutting out carefully all the way around, so I will slow it down when I get to that. But what you're aiming to do, you can see here we've got lovely edges happening here and stuff like that. You don't want to lose all of that, so don't go too close in. And also it depends how much you like cutting things out. If you do not like cutting things out, you could be quite... you could just go around the top like that. It would be totally fine. But as you get down the layers... Whoops, that wasn't the tidiest. As you get down the layers, you'll find that it will look much better if you can just get in here. This is a huge pair of scissors. This is totally the wrong scissors for this task, but they are very sharp, so at least I know I can get through the paper easily. So we're just cutting round about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 millimeters out from the edge of the ink work. Entirely up to you where you do that. Go out a little bit wider if you want to keep more of the edges of the watercolour. And you end up with that. So you can see you've got a piece, and what's going to happen with this is that one is going to sit up there and the others are going to lie on top of it. So I'm going to put that to one side. I'm going to rattle through the others, and you'll see when I get to this one, the last one, that I'm going to very carefully cut out all the way around, not just around the top. Alrighty? So let's get going. So all we need to do now, we've got these ones where the bottom is just cut roughly, just cut roughly, just cut roughly, neat and tidy all the way around. And you can see it means that when we stick this one on, there'll be something right at the front. So they're all dry by now, and I've got just some bog standard PVA glue. And what we need to do is make sure we stick them on in the right order. So this one is our first one. We need to work out kind of how it's going to go. These are going to go quite high up on the thing because I want the bottom to not overhang, because if it overhangs, obviously it won't, the card won't stand. So I need to work out roughly where they're all going to be, and they're going to be like about like that really. So it's going to go quite a long way off the top. So just taking this off for a second, I can see that it's about halfway up the edge of the thing. So I need to be a little bit careful when I put the glue on, not to overdo it with the glue. And I will just put it on here actually. Whoops, this is going to get messy. It was about there, wasn't it? So that's going to go on there. These will bend. They will do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. But the nice thing is about this is you can squash it under a book. This next one, I think I'm going to put the glue actually on the piece, just so I don't... Whoop, I've got the glue everywhere. Standard. That is not a good design. Let's just grab a manky old brush. Always got thousands of manky old brushes within easy reach. Just smush that around a bit so I don't get great big blobs coming out everywhere, because I want these ones to stick on a little bit better. Okay, right, that's that fella. Oh, I've stuck it to the table. Of course I have. I've just repainted these as well for bonuses. About there, I think. So this is playing with the idea that the further away something is, the lighter the colours are. I might as well just scrape that off there, mightn't I? You could do it in all sorts of interesting colours. I've gone for pink today, but you could use orange and yellow. You don't even have to use green for your leaves. It's really entirely up to you. You could go completely tropical. You could go like a meadow. As with a lot of the art club projects, I mean, I hope all the art club projects, the only limits here are your own imagination. So if you can take these ideas and run with them, that is awesome. Right, nearly there. We've got one more to stick on, which is going to go just there. So let's get some glue on that. I feel like I'm gradually easing my way into collage, having said in a video a long time ago that every time I do collage it looks like a small child has done it. This is me trying to make it look like a grown-up has done it. Having said that, I know when I get home my 8-year-old daughter is going to want to do this, so she'll probably make a better job of it than I have. There we go. No, we are cooking on gas here. Oh no, missed a bit. The last one you want to make really sure it's stuck down pretty well, because if it starts peeling off it will look a bit wonky. And you're just sticking it down like that, and you can see I would put it there and put so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to crush it, because I need that to dry completely flat with everything stuck on really, really well, particularly that top one that's only stuck on by half the thing. But you can see the idea. We've got then a really fantastic little card here which will stand up perfectly well, and we've got an entire garden on there. So if you know somebody who's got a summer birthday coming up, or oh wait, it's nearly the end of term and there are lots of teachers who will need cards, I bet they'd absolutely love to get one of these. So I'm going to go and crush that under something to make sure it goes completely flat and dries really well. If you're worried about glue or the glue's escaped a bit, put some greaseproof paper over the top, and that'll just make sure that it doesn't stick to anything while it's drying. Find the biggest book in your cupboard and squash it. Okay, I hope you enjoyed making the flower beds along with me, and I hope that if you make anything like this at home you will send me a picture, because I love seeing what people get up to. Wonderful, as I said, wonderful cards for end of term, summer birthdays, just so much you could do with it. You could do an under the sea version, you could do anything you like really, distant hills. The possibilities are only limited by your own imagination. So please get creative, have a fantastic summer, and I will see you back in September. Thanks very much for watching. Bye now.